Get your money, Caitlin Clark! While the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 WNBA draft won't be making a ton of money in league salary, less than $100,000 per season, she'll be more than making up for that with her Nike contract. According to the Wall Street Journal, Clark will be earning close to $30 million over 8 years with Nike. The swoosh beat out several other contenders for Clark's services. If that outcome seems inevitable, the reality is that Clark striking a deal with Nike was far from a slam dunk. In fact, the race to tie her to a shoe contract ranked as the most competitive in the history of women's basketball, playing out against the backdrop of Clark lifting her sport to new heights and unprecedented TV ratings as she becomes a household name across America. Prior to the news of Clark's Nike deal, her WNBA contract with the Indiana Fever went viral, set to make $338,056 in 4 years with the Fever. Clark's WNBA contract was shocking to many. During a recent episode of FanDuel's Run It Back show, former Memphis Grizzlies forward Chandler Parsons called out those making fun of Clark's contract, since she is receiving a massive deal from Nike.
And all these people making fun of her salary, her WNBA salary. Because she's making more money than you, so keep hating. She's changing the game. She is awesome. She deserves it. And listen, she's gonna kill in the WNBA. I think she's gonna have a great rookie year. But this is awesome. I hope this is just the beginning of these girls getting these massive deals.
Clark certainly has the opportunity to continue paving the way for the next generation of WNBA stars, along with several other incredible players who were selected in this draft. For Parsons, he hopes this is just the beginning for women's basketball when it comes to landing big-time deals with brands like Nike and others. The WNBA has been sailing through the current internet trends, be it 2024 NBA draft picks Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, or 2-time WNBA champion A'ja Wilson. Current basketball fans are eyeing them. Soon after the Nike news, Wilson tweeted a symbolic tweet and wrote, Psalm 37:7, which translates to, "Be still before the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes." However, the notion did not go well on Twitter, as one of the users got it firsthand and did not mind taking Wilson into account, accusing her of jealousy towards Caitlin Clark's Nike deal. Surprisingly, a unique thing happened that is not seen generally. Wilson could not hold back on the claim made against her by the Twitter fan, and she even replied to the comment. In her reply, she wrote, "LOL, no one is jealous, Bookie. I have no reason to be, LOL. I truly wish all 143 the best for real. Our league is hard as hell, so to thrive and to stay in it consistently is huge. So please stop with this jealousy stuff." Jemele Hill has suggested A'ja Wilson deserves her own signature shoe as well. Wilson is a 2-time MVP, 2-time champion, and 5-time All-Star, as Hill pointed out, and still does not have her own shoe. The former ESPN commentator shared a list of Wilson's accomplishments, suggesting that Wilson has done more than enough to get her own signature shoe. Wilson is also a New York Times best-selling author with her book, Dear Black Girls, and was recently named on Time's 100 Most Influential People list. The other two players with signature shoes, Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, are white women like Clark. Hill made it clear that she didn't object to that trio having their own shoes, just that Wilson deserves it as well. I didn't say any of these players didn't deserve their own shoe. I'm just surprised arguably the best player in the WNBA, a best-selling author, and someone Time put on their 100 most influential list, doesn't have her own shoe. Hill's post was met with a response from former Duke star and popular radio host Doug Gottlieb, who said, "Jemele is confusing accomplished and talented with marketable." To that, Hill responded, "You realize something has to appeal to people on a mass scale to sell a book, right? And to be on the New York Times bestseller list. And by the way, I didn't say any of these ladies didn't deserve a shoe deal, but I find it curious the best player in the league who has proven to be marketable doesn't have one." Hill got heated over the online discussion surrounding Caitlin Clark's rookie contract. People were left shocked to learn that Clark, the number 1 overall draft pick this year, is slated to make only $76,000 next year as a part of her rookie deal. Clark fans threw up their hands in disbelief at the upcoming women's basketball star raking in significantly less money than no-name NBA rookies. Meanwhile, Jemele Hill is oddly mad about people comparing WNBA pay against the NBA. On her X account, Jemele Hill ranted about the pay discussion surrounding Clark, the WNBA's popularity compared to the NBA on a timeline, the dangers of letting WNBA players pursue more money overseas, Brittany Griner, and called the discussions of salary difference between the WNBA and NBA a form of misogyny. These are all things we'd expect to hear from the infamous Jemele Hill. I'm already annoyed by this conversation because for years, WNBA players have fought for more money. The perpetually pissed writer, whose platform is far too reliant on identity politics, made questionable declarations in her online rant. Hill seemingly protected Caitlin Clark, despite having targeted Clark weeks earlier, demanding that the media spend more time highlighting black athletes instead of the white Iowa player. The rant continued, and when they were outspoken, so many of y'all told them to shut up or reminded them how they had no value. The NBA has had 50-plus years of investment, media coverage, etc. After 27 years, the WNBA will not be the current NBA, so stop comparing them. This salary is for 4 months of basketball, 40 games. Players also receive a free apartment plus car. That doesn't make the salaries acceptable, but now you know why so many women's players play overseas to boost/supplement their income. Weaponizing this information against WNBA players is another form of misogyny. The closing quote makes some sense. These women have been dreaming of playing professionally in front of American audiences their whole lives. Instead of clowning and reminding them of what they're not, buy the merchandise, go to the games, and watch the games on television. Very easy to criticize when most of y'all couldn't get paid to compete at anything. The silver lining in that rant, if any, was Jemele's challenge to so-called WNBA fans to put their money up if they truly support the league, instead of lamenting the financials between the men and women's leagues. More often than not, people will pretend to champion and watch women's basketball without actually supporting it. However, if you ask Jemele Hill, she'd likely attribute the difference to a bias towards men's sports, disregarding the superior product. Jemele Hill's heart was in identifying an injustice in the Clark salary situation and turning it into one of her woke rants. You still have one side that's not bothered about WNBA salaries against a side calling for increased pay without a sober understanding of how the business works. Higher revenue should lead to higher pay. As simple as it sounds. And in case you're wondering where the right side of the WNBA salary conversation lands, President Biden's X account put out an inane post, propping up Caitlin Clark as a kind of martyr for the gender pay gap movement. As people discuss her pockets, including the millions made from NIL, Clark is solely focused on the game. So how we got from there to misogyny can only be made possible through a signature Jemele Hill stretch of logic. People cried for the end of the pay disparity between leagues, an idea that continually falls flat when comparing the WNBA and NBA's respective revenues. According to Statista, the NBA generated $10.58 billion in revenue in 2023. By comparison, the WNBA drew $200 million in revenue. The figure is passable until you compare it to 2022. That year, the WNBA generated $60 million in revenue, presenting a massive uptick in audiences that may quell, or Clark can keep the momentum going as the new face of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark will inevitably draw more eyes to the WNBA with her generational talent, but for sports writers like Jemele Hill, Clark's impact on the game isn't enough. CC has to be the face of some cause. Clark just wants to win. No off-the-court absurdity required. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos.